right, welcome to part 4 of our final review series. Okay, this is over just how to graph the functions. Okay, there's going to be 3 different functions that you need to graph on your final. Absolute value, quadratic, and a square root function. So we'll start with the absolute value. Okay, how do we do this? Well, we can build a table. The problem is when we go to plug in our x values, we can't plug it into the calculator. Okay, so that's why we use a shortcut on this one. It only works on absolute values. I'll show you what that is. Okay, but first things first, just like we start all of these, we've got to start by finding the vertex. So it's negative hk. H is your bad friend, k is your good friend. So my vertex is going to be positive 5, positive 3. And I'm going to go and plot that point. Okay, and then again, the shortcut for absolute values and absolute values only is that the slope of the function is in the very front. It's that a value. Okay, so it's negative 1/2. So the slope is negative 1/2. So if I go from that vertex point, I go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. I'm going off the graph a little bit, but that's okay. And then I can reflect those points as well. So I would go down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2, and then draw my graph. So that's how we graph an absolute value function. Okay, you don't have to do any of the blanks, you just have to graph it. So moving on, now we're graphing a quadratic function. We start it the same way. So we find the vertex. So in this case, the vertex, negative hk, it would be a negative 4, negative 3. So we plot that point. On these, we do make a table. So we always put the vertex in the middle of the table for the quadratic, and then we find 2 points to the left, 2 points to the right. The 2 numbers to the left of negative 4 would be negative 5 and negative 6, and the 2 numbers to the right would be negative 3, negative 2. And then we go and we plug these into the calculator. Please, for the love of math, do not try to do mental math on me, guys. Do not. So we go and we plug in negative 6 into our calculator. So 2 parentheses, negative 6 plus 4, close parentheses, squared. Make sure you use the exponent button and don't just type a 2. And then minus 3. And we should get 5, okay? And then if I go change that to negative 5, we should get negative 1. Remember, these points are symmetrical, so when you type in negative 3, you should also get negative 1. When you type in negative 2, you should also get 5, okay? Feel free to check my math if you want to, but I know I did it right. So now I plot these points, make my U shape. And that's it. I'm done. Okay? And then last but not least, we have these square root functions that we graphed in Unit 2B. Okay, so these were a little bit different. What we did was we used a shortcut. We took what was underneath to build our table, and we went and we set that equal to our 4 numbers that we memorized. There were 0, 1, 4, and 9. And then we solved these. Okay, so if I were solving these equations, I would just subtract 1 on each one. When I do that, 0 minus 1 is negative 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. 4 minus 1, 3. 9 minus 1 is 8. And then I go and I plug these in with my calculator. Make sure we use the square root button, okay? Make sure we close the parentheses after I type in square root negative 1 plus 1. I close the parentheses and then I subtract 3. Should give me negative 3. Okay, and then I go back and I plug in these other numbers. So the square root of 0 plus 1 minus 3 is going to give me a negative 2. The square root of 3 plus 1 and then minus 3 is going to give me a negative 1. Okay, and then the square root of 8 plus 1 minus 3 is going to give me 0. So then I plot these points. And voila, there's my square root function. Again, it only goes to the right. It's only going to those positive values. We said the reason for that is because If we go negative, it gets into those imaginary numbers, okay, which gives me error on my calculator, meaning I did it wrong, okay? So make sure that we know how to do these. Again, this is part 4 in this series, so make sure we keep watching these videos. Make sure we do the other practices. Practice makes perfect on these, okay? And good luck. Let me know if you have questions.